Here's a complete short story based on your title, shaped for a 10 to 12-minute spoken narration, with the heartfelt, authentic tone you asked for. Title: Elon Musk mocked Jasmine Crockett's law degree, 23 seconds later she unsealed his tax fraud scandal. The conference room fell silent, except for one voice. Elon Musk leaned back in his chair, a smirk curling at the corner of his lips. Law degree, huh, he said, glancing at Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Cute. I build rockets. You write essays about them. The audience chuckled. Cameras clicked. Twitter would have a field day. But Jasmine didn't flinch. She had heard worse before. Back when she was scraping together bus fare to law school. Back when people told her she wasn't cut out for politics. Back when kindness was her only weapon in a room full of arrogance. And in that moment, she remembered something her grandmother once told her. The loudest in the room is often the weakest in truth. This was supposed to be a routine congressional hearing on corporate accountability. Jasmine came prepared with policy questions, not personal insults. But life rarely follows the script. As the room erupted in murmurs, she caught Elon's eyes that seemed amused, even bored. In that split second, she faced a choice: fire back with equal venom, or take a higher road. She smiled. Not the sarcastic kind, but the kind that says, I see you. And I'm still rooting for you, even if you don't deserve it right now. Mr. Musk, she began softly, I actually admire your work. You've done things few thought possible. But I also believe greatness comes with responsibility. Her words weren't a punch, they were an open hand. The room quieted. Musk tilted his head, perhaps thrown off by her refusal to spar. Then, with a calmness that felt almost surgical, she reached into her folder and pulled out a stack of documents. 23 seconds had passed since his mockery, just enough time for the kindness in her voice to make what came next hit harder. These, she said, laying the papers flat, are records, publicly available, showing tax filings from your companies. And in the fine print, something unusual, deductions and transfers that raise serious legal questions. The audience froze. Cameras zoomed in. Musk's smirk evaporated. What no one in the room knew was that 3 days earlier, Jasmine had received those very documents from a former Tesla accountant, an older man whose wife had just been diagnosed with cancer. He didn't come forward for revenge. He came because he believed truth mattered. Jasmine promised him she wouldn't use the information recklessly. And she meant it. This wasn't about taking down Elon Musk. This was about something deeper. Showing the world that accountability doesn't have to come with cruelty. Mr. Musk, she said, her voice steady, I'm not here to humiliate you. I'm here to ask if you're willing to do the right thing. Not because the law demands it, but because people, your workers, your shareholders, your children, deserve leaders they can trust. The air in the room shifted. Some saw it as a political masterstroke. Others saw it as mercy. Musk himself didn't speak for a long moment. Finally, he leaned forward. I'll review it, he said quietly. You have my word. It wasn't an admission, but it was a start. That night, the clip went viral, not because Jasmine destroyed Elon Musk, but because she didn't. People shared it with captions like, strength without hate, and, this is what leadership looks like. In a world addicted to outrage, her calm defiance felt like a warm light in a dark room. Weeks later, Musk announced reforms in his company's accounting practices. Whether it was PR or a genuine change of heart, no one could be sure. But one thing was clear. He had been reminded that even the most powerful are accountable to the truth. And Jasmine, she went back to her work, knowing that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the loudest voice, but the quiet courage to choose dignity over destruction. Because kindness doesn't mean weakness, it means refusing to become the thing you're fighting against. 3 days after the hearing, Jasmine Crockett's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Not with congratulations, though there were plenty of those, but with stories. Emails from single mothers working 2 jobs for companies that hadn't paid fair wages. Letters from retired engineers who had spent decades in factories, only to see their pensions shrink. Even a few quiet messages from Silicon Valley employees, people too afraid to speak publicly, but desperate for someone to hear them. They didn't want revenge. They wanted fairness. And fairness, Jasmine thought, wasn't a left or right issue. It was a human one. One evening, just after midnight, Jasmine's personal cell phone lit up with a number she didn't recognize. She almost let it go to voicemail, but something told her to pick up. Hello. There was a pause. Then a voice she knew instantly. Congresswoman Crockett, it's Elon. She sat up in bed. Mr. Musk. Yeah, he said, with an awkward chuckle. I wanted to thank you. Not for the documents. Those were, well, unpleasant. But for the way you handled it. You could have torn me apart. Instead, you gave me space to think. Jasmine didn't answer right away. She let the silence sit. Sometimes silence says more than words. I'm not promising miracles, he continued. But I've been looking into some things. I think you were right. Greatness does come with responsibility. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't an apology. But for a man known for deflecting criticism with humor or ego, it was more than she expected. 2 weeks later, a statement appeared on Tesla's investor site. We are initiating an independent review of our tax filings, with full transparency to shareholders. But what shocked people wasn't the review. It was a new foundation Musk quietly funded, aimed at supporting underprivileged youth in STEM education. The name of the foundation: Crockett Scholars. He didn't ask her permission. He didn't even tell her first. But it was there, in bold letters, for the world to see. When a reporter asked him why, he simply said, because she reminded me that you can be tough, without being cruel. Months later, Jasmine attended the foundation's first scholarship ceremony. A young girl, no older than 12, stood on stage, clutching her acceptance letter to a summer robotics program. Her parents were in tears. They'd never been able to afford such opportunities. The girl spotted Jasmine in the audience, ran to her, and hugged her tightly. Thank you, she whispered. I'm gonna build rockets one day too. Jasmine smiled, feeling her grandmother's words echo in her mind. The loudest in the room is often the weakest in truth. But sometimes, she realized, the quietest in the room can spark the loudest change. This wasn't a story about humiliation or victory laps. It was about remembering that the people we challenge are still people. And that sometimes, the way to truly win is not by destroying someone's reputation, but by giving them the chance to change it. Because in a world where it's easy to go for the knockout punch, choosing to extend a hand instead, just might change more than one life. If you'd like, I can now merge this continuation with the opening scene you liked earlier into a single seamless 10 to 12 minute spoken script, complete with natural pauses and emphasis cues for narration so it feels like a professional YouTube storytelling video. That way, it's ready to record. Without extra editing. Do you want me to create that final combined version?